Well, people, tomorrow is Inauguration Day for the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. It's probably going to be a good idea that they moved the festivities indoors. It's going to be mighty cold tomorrow. Um, for those of you who live in Virginia, as I do, you might want to consider going to the General Assembly building on Monday the 20th. We have what's called Lobby Day every year. It's the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. It's a federal holiday. State offices are closed. Banks are closed. I think the stock market is closed, and I don't think there's any mail delivered. But the General Assembly building is actually open, and that's where citizens can come. Many of us go as part of a group to lobby our state senators and our state House of Delegates members to support whatever cause we might have. There are always several groups there, from mental health advocates, homeless advocates, um, Second Amendment advocates, anti Second Amendment advocates, uh, indigent defense people, ending parole. I'm sure there's probably anti-police protesters there. It's usually a pretty peaceful time, but nevertheless, I'm going as part of the Virginia Citizens Defense League, and um, we're trying to prevent a lot of unconstitutional laws from being passed. We do have, it's mostly Democrats who are on the anti-Second Amendment side, and mostly Republicans who are on the pro-Second Amendment side. However, there are exceptions. There are some Republicans who are very squishy on the Second Amendment, and there are actually a few Democrats who are somewhat reasonable on it. Not very many of them, but there are some. In Virginia and New Jersey, there's a gubernatorial race in 2025. New Jersey and Virginia are the only states which will be electing a new governor in November. As far as I'm aware, in New Jersey, the current governor, Phil Murphy, I believe is his name, I think he's term limited where he cannot run again. I'm not positive on that, but I believe that to be the case. Um, Virginia, you can only be governor one time, and then you have to sit out a term, and then you can run again. Our current governor is named Glenn Youngkin. He was elected in 2021. So in 2025, there will be a new governor elected, and it won't be Glenn Youngkin. The indicators are that our current lieutenant governor, Mrs. Winsome Sears, is going to seek the Republican nomination for governor in 2025, and the presumptive Democrat nominee is Abigail Spanberger, who has been a member of Congress. She didn't run in 2024, but I think she was there 3 terms, 3 or 4 terms, something like that. She represented the 7th district, which they've redistricted things in Virginia, so the district isn't the same anymore, but she's the presumptive Democrat nominee. She's very anti-Second Amendment. She's a former CIA operative, very smart, very articulate woman. Winsome Sears is a woman who's from Jamaica. She's a Marine Corps veteran, and like I said, she's a legal immigrant. She's from Jamaica. She's a Marine Corps veteran, and she happens to be black. And she's a tough cookie. My worry is that she's rather pro-gun. She, I believe, does favor red flag laws, and that's a problem. But she's pretty good on some of the other stuff, and she probably would not sign very much bad legislation. If Spanberger wins next year, or I should say this year in November, she will be very anti-gun. She's going to have a heck of a lot of out-of-state money coming into the governor's race in Virginia. And right now we have a majority, a slim majority, Democrat lead in both chambers, the House of Delegates and the state Senate. There are 100 seats in the House of Delegates in Virginia, and there are 40 in the state Senate. The senators were just elected in 2023, and they serve a 4-year term, so they'll be up in 2027. But in in 2025, only the House of Delegates are up. They serve 2-year terms, and they're like the House of Representatives. They're all up for election every 2 years. So we're trying to, there are a lot of bad bills in committee right now, especially in the Senate. And there are a few good pro-gun bills that are also in the House of Delegates and in the Senate. I believe they're just in committee right now, but they're floating around. Last year, there were a whole bunch of really bad bills that passed both houses, and Governor Youngkin fortunately had enough ink in his veto pen, and he vetoed them. So part of our job as the Virginia Citizens Defense League, think of a smaller grassroots that's a lot more effective than the NRA, and we work at the state level. So I'm going to meet with at least 2 members. I'm going to meet with my delegate and my state senator, both of whom are pretty much anti-gun. We just moved into this district, so I've never met either of them, but I do promise to be firm but civil. So if you are a resident of the Commonwealth of Virginia and you're registered to vote in Virginia, come on down to the General Assembly building. It is a gun-free zone, so you won't be able to have firearms within the certain perimeter of the area. Even if you have a concealed carry permit, you can no longer go in the building. That was passed into law in 2020, I believe, but we've never had an issue because the people who carry, you had to have a permit to carry in order to be admitted into the building with a firearm. Now they just banned it for everybody, even though they've never had an issue. But that's part of the reason where they're trying to fight this nonsense. Many of these people in the anti-liberty movement are sincere. They're scared. They, obviously nobody likes gun violence, but they're affected by it. They see it on the news and they're very scared and worried. So they often end up supporting ideas that are really bad because it makes them feel better. And some of the laws are really, really bad, like requiring you to keep a firearm out in the open in your vehicle when it's parked. But the same party who wants that also has another bill where they want to prohibit you from carrying a firearm basically in any area open to the public, which is anywhere except, your own private property. Then there's bills that they want to make things declared an assault weapon that's not really an assault weapon, and they're improperly defining it. My state senator actually is behind a bill that wants to make it illegal to own what he calls an assault weapon, which is really not, but it looks like one, that's manufactured after July of 2025. Well, the thing is, firearms don't have a date of manufacture stamped on them. Another member of the state legislature wants to make it illegal to have a non-serialized gun. Well, I have an antique revolver, and it's so old, it was made during World War I, it doesn't even have a serial number on it. So should I be a criminal because of that? Just a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. And there were a couple of good bills there. So it's kind of we try and meet a couple of us at a time with the delegate. And even some of the anti-gun delegates have been polite and have met with us before. But a lot of them, you just meet with their staffer, you drop off some material and say, hey, this is what we feel. We may not change your mind, but at least hear us out. And the majority of them do, actually. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I don't think I'd want to be anywhere near Washington, D.C. tomorrow. It's normally a mess up there because of the traffic. But, whatever happens, the time for arguing about whether you wanted Trump or Harris or whatever, that's over. Trump's going to be inaugurated, and we're pretty much stuck with him for the next 4 years. And, time to put on the big boy pants. And whomever you voted for, hold their feet to the fire. Hold them accountable. Don't be afraid to send an email or a letter to your representative. Good or bad. When they do something bad, call them out on it. When they do something good, let them know you appreciate it. They work for us. I know that may not seem that way, but they work for us. At least they're supposed to anyway. So that's my Sunday night rant. I just hope that this cold, chilly weather finds you in good spirits. And I wish everybody a good night. You take care.